Hi guys, I'm so glad that you're here with me to sew along for Sew Wednesday. For everybody that's watching this in the future, we are today sitting here in Fashion Revolution Week. And for those of you who don't know what Fashion Revolution Week is, um, on April 24th, 2013, the deadliest accident in a garment factory happened in Bangladesh, and over 1,000 people were killed in a factory collapse. And um, this was a typical sweatshop with a very bad infrastructure problem that had been ignored. And lots of the clothing that was being made in this factory is clothing that comes to Europe and Canada and America at very inexpensive prices. But this accident was a real wake-up call for me personally. And, you know, it reminded me of the things that I learned in fashion school that taught me that these things can be done safer, and this industry doesn't have to be so dangerous to the humanity and the environment. So when that accident happened, I decided that I was going to really dedicate a lot of my time and energy to reminding people that there are safer solutions. And one of the best things that we can do to help this industry is to learn to sew and to remember the value that there is in these skills. So whether you are just learning to sew or you've been sewing for a long time, just sitting down at your sewing machine and making something new, fixing something that already exists. These are ways that we can remember those people who've died in this terrible accident, and remember that this industry really needs a lot of attention. And I think that when this industry makes a really significant shift, it's going to help change the world, because literally every single one of us are a part of the fashion industry. Everyone wears clothing, and everyone, whether you're buying it regularly or not, I definitely encourage people to buy less and to buy better. And I make clothing, and I work with other really wonderful companies that I respect. My business name is Themis and Thread, and I do offer sustainable style solutions, but I also love to just be a resource for people to have the conversation about sustainable style and better choices, and to just kind of like help guide people in the right direction as far as recycling fibers and things like that. So with these kits that you got at the library, everything is actually post-consumer pre-waste. So these items have been rescued for reuse. The fabrics, the threads, and the twill tape are all vintage, secondhand, hand-me-down, however you want to look at it. A resource of mine that I use very often is called So Green in Ithaca. And this, I believe they're not for profit. This wonderful business sells secondhand notions. So this would be like things that you would find at a yard sale or an estate sale. They accept those kinds of donations too. If you ever have fabric or thread or trim in your sewing studio that you know that you're not going to use, you can donate it to So Green. So some of these items came from there. Some of them just came from my personal collection. I love making clothing with upcycled components. Old clothes or just vintage fabrics are always real exciting gems to find. So there were 3 different fabric choices, and in your kit you have some washi tape, which is a removable tape. I like to use it on my sewing machine to just tape a guide to make sure that I have my measurement correct. And you have 2 pieces of material that look fairly similar. Mine, I just have like a different fabric than what you guys have cut, but I have that rounded edge. The bigger piece is the back piece, and the smaller piece is the pocket. And you have a bunch of twill tape and the thread. So heat your irons up, and hopefully you already have your bobbin wound and your machine ready to go. At any point, you can stop me, ask me a question, ask me to pause, unmute. I'm going to kind of be moving from my machine to my pressing table right behind me. I'm in my home-based studio, which is rather chaotic looking almost always, but especially this week because I am gearing up for a couple of other events for Fashion Revolution Week, one of which is called Red Carpet Revolution, which is Saturday at Hector Handmade. It's an outdoor event, and it is featuring a lot of really great vintage fashion from my collection, and there are 4 other racks that are going to be there that are from folks who have really, really cool collections. And part of my red curtain is an upcycled piece that is hanging behind me right now. It is going to be much bigger, and it is going to flow into a red carpet. So it's going to be fun to walk the red carpet and do some sustainable shopping. And that will actually be on Fashion Revolution Day, which was the anniversary of the accident. So I think that first what I'll show you guys how to do is just get that washi tape on your machine if you need a guide, if you don't have a guide. When you look at your presser foot, I like to know what the measurement is of the presser foot itself. So just to like know, so when you are sewing, you can use your presser foot as a guide instead of any other marks. But they're usually pretty small. So I'm going to place my washi tape on my machine parallel with the presser foot at a 1/4 inch, just so that I have that 1/4 inch measurement. So when you're making that measurement, drop the needle down directly over the ruler so that you know that it's a 1/4 inch from where the needle is, okay? And for anybody who isn't watching this live, you can put something in the comments and I will see it and get back to you as soon as I can. Don't forget to lift your needle up from your ruler before you pull that ruler out. You don't want to break your needle before you started. And today we're going to sew basically just 1/8 of an inch and a 1/4 inch as we go. So you'll want your ruler by your iron and your other pieces, your fabric pieces, so we can measure out to press. And pressing is where we start. So I'm going to head over to my pressing table. So in your kit, you have a bunch of twill tape, and I really do recommend that everything gets repressed. So I would just like press the twill tape, press these 2 pieces that you have for the apron. Once you press the apron pieces flat, go ahead and fold it in half. And then make sure that you have that curved edge lined up and press it straight down the middle. So it looks like this. And then when you press it down the middle, what you're going to do is get a really nice clean ridge that will show you what the center front is. So center front, we will be stitching so that this apron has 2 pockets. And that way, when you have the center front marked with a press line, you don't really have to do any more measuring. Okay, so we have 2 pieces, folded in half, pressed in half. I'm not sure if you can see it on the video, but folding that down the center gives you like that little mark. So you can kind of see your press line. We're just gonna set the the big side back for a minute. And the first thing that we're going to do on the sewing machine is stitch. We're going to stitch the top of the pocket. So the top is going to be perfectly the straight part. So curves down the bottom. And you want to take your ruler, measure a 1/4 inch at the top here, and press it down. And then we're going to press it down again. So I'm going to press a 1/4 inch and show you what it looks like from the back. So I want to take the good side of the fabric and fold it over. So what we're going to be doing is just getting that nice hemline for that top. So once you measure for that first 1/4 inch, you could just use that as a guide to fold back over. So this is the back side of my fabric, and I folded it over a 1/4 inch. Does that make sense? You can see. Now that I have that measured once, I'm going to do it one more time so that we don't have what we're doing is covering that raw edge. So there isn't any raw edges and there isn't any reason to worry that it is going to come unfurled. So, right, cool. So now that you have this edge, fold it over twice. We're going to go to the good side, top side, and stitch this at 1/8 of an inch.
An 1/8. Okay.
So my presser foot on the inside is 1/8 of an inch. So that's a good guide for me, and maybe yours is too. Remember to do a back tack after you start and when you finish at the end here. So. All right, so now that you got that pocket hemmed up, we're going to take this piece, which is actually a little bit wider. The pocket piece is a little bit wider than the back of the apron is, okay? And that's just going to give you, it's like just a little bit bigger. It's going to give you enough room to get your hands in there easily. So what we're going to do now is line these two pieces up with their good side facing up, and be sure to keep the curved edge lined up. And we're going to use that press line that we just did to find the center front and match that with the back side to the pocket. And we're going to pin up that line also. So I'm going to put some pins in and then show it. When I'm pinning, I always pin with my needle pointing up on the right hand side, because I know that when I put my fabric on my sewing machine, that right hand side is where I want to see the edge when I'm pushing it through my machine. So just to show you, I have this hemmed piece right on top, and I've pinned it along the edge, and I've made sure that my curve is even with both pieces. And I'm going to take that folded line that we just made with our iron and find the folded line on the front and the back and pin them together all the way up, and then pin along the other edge too. What you should have is the front pocket pinned to the back piece, and also a straight line of pins going down the center front where we're going to stitch along that press line to create the two pockets. You'll take that to your sewing machine and line it up with that 1/4 inch washi tape marker that we just created. And we're going to stitch from the pocket all the way around. You don't need to start at the top, just the pocket is fine. Do back tack at the pocket, and then we'll stitch down the center front. Right, so yeah, back tack at the top of your pocket, stitch this all around that curved edge where you have everything pinned, sliding out your pin as you go. So after you've stitched a 1/4 inch all the way around that curved edge and your pocket, we're going to go back to that center front fold where we have the pocket pinned to the back of the apron, and we're going to stitch straight down there from the top to the bottom, back tacking at the top of the pocket and again at the bottom of the apron. When I placed the pins over this, I tried to make sure that they were right in line with that press line, so I can just use that as my guide and slide them out. All right, so after that, we're pretty close to looking like an apron here, actually. You have the edge stitched down. You have a clean edge in top of that pocket. You have two pockets stitched straight down the center. And we'll take that back to press, and we're going to edge it out next with the twill tape. So this part, this is a really nice, clean technique. Twill tape is great because it's a consistent measurement all the way straight through, so you don't have to wonder where your edges are. Just gotta keep them straight. This is 3/4 of an inch, this twill tape. You could use something bigger if you wanted. And when you get back to your ironing board, lay your apron flat, and we're going to take the twill tape and place it along the outside edge. So this is finishing this edge. But we're not pinning it down yet. Really, we're just mocking it up. So I just hold the twill tape over the fabric and move it around that curved edge. What I'm doing is figuring out how much of this I need to edge it out. You don't really want to stretch or pull too much, because we're going to have to ease around that corner. So basically what I just did was use that twill tape to outline the apron. And when you have it, like so, just trim the top when you get to the other edge. So that piece that you just measured is going to be the piece that edges around, and the other piece is going to be your waist high. To start this edge, we're going to go to the back of the apron. So, you know, you got the pocket on the front. We're going to look at the back side. And from this back side, we're going to pin the twill tape all the way around the outline. We're going to pin it like that. So this is the edge. We're going to pin it here. What we're going to be doing is stitching that at 1/4 inch. And then pressing it over and stitching it on top of the front. So I'm going to pin this and then show it to you. Let me know if you have any questions while you're doing that. You want to like ease it and inch it around that curve. So just as I'm rounding that corner, this is what it looks like. Pinned flat with the corner on the outside edge. So when you're pinning around that curve, the inside of the twill tape might pucker up a little bit, but the important part is that you have it as close to perfectly straight around the fabric edge as you can. So what we're looking for is this pinned all the way around the back side. When you get that pinned, we're going to sit down at the machine and use that 1/4-inch guide again and stitch the twill tape along the edge. So we want to be 1/4 of an inch from this edge. Just take it slow around the corners. We should now have something that looks like this with the twill tape stitched around the back side of our apron. And what we're going to do is take it to the ironing board, and we're going to open up from the back. So we're going to press this flat all the way around. So it's going to look like this in the front. And that in the back. So we're going to press that all flat. Once it's all flat, what we're going to do is just roll it back over again so that you have this clean edge on the back. And on the front, we're going to have that pretty edge of the twill tape. So I'm going to come back after I press it flat on the back and then show you. This is going to be real tight around that curve, but just do your best to press into the seam that we just stitched. Okay, so this is what I've pressed, and it's just pressed flat. See, it kind of like bows. It looks funny, but I have the back pressed. And this is what it looks like on the front right now. So that seam is folded under. And we can see that line of stitching. What we're going to do next is just fold this all the way over. It's going to cover. It's like we have a nice little sandwich here. And that front edge. So basically, this seam that we just stitched is going to be right to the edge. This is going to be the outside edge of our apron. When you get to the corner, I like to try to keep the iron and that seam together. And it might bow up a little bit on the inside. But if you press it a couple of times, you can get it pretty flat. So I'm not done pressing, but this is what it looks like so far. Kind of just folded it right over itself again. So that's what the pressed edge looks like. And then this guy is ready to get folded all the way over. Anytime you're doing something with a rounded corner or a curved edge, just take it slow. The curved edge probably won't press all the way flat. That's okay. We're going to use pins to hold it down before we take it back to the sewing machine. So what I'm doing next is pinning my twill tape. Now that we have it pressed down around the corners and the edge. And again, I'm going to look at the edge of the fabric where it's folded, and I'm going to put my pins upright so that as I'm passing it through my machine, I can easily remove them. So all the way around your corner, all along the bottom and up the other edge. Just pin it down to hold it in place. We want to keep that curve there for us. You can also use ribbon instead of a twill tape. Twill tape works great for the waist tie because it is heavy duty, and a lot of ribbon isn't going to be as strong as the twill tape. So after we pin and stitch this, our last step is going to be to finish off the top and to create our waist tie and to stitch that on. So when you have that pinned all the way around, take it back to your sewing machine, and we're going to stitch on the top side of the apron at 1/4 inch and just go all the way around the edge. This is going to cover up that back seam and that front seam and give us a really nice clean edge with the edge of the twill tape. Just go slow around the corners. So you'll have something that looks like this now. We have it stitched around on the top side, and you can take that back to press the whole thing out after you have that stitched down, and grab the rest of your twill tape, and that second piece should be enough to be the waistband for you. We're going to fold this in half and press at the fold. You have both of your ends lined up. And you might be able to just like do this with your fingers too, or you can use your iron when you press out your corners. So just fold that edge. So now we know that this is the center front of our waistband, and take each end and make sure, I like to make sure that I have like the front. So I have that point. I know that's the center front. You can stick a needle in that so that it's saved. And now that I know which side is the front of my waist tie, I'm going to go to one end and I'm going to fold it back a 1/4 inch. And then I'm going to fold it a 1/4 inch over itself again. And then I'm going to press that. So back at your press table, press the center front of your waist tie and fold out a 1/4 inch on the ends twice. That's going to just make sure that this doesn't unravel. And then I'll show you what we do at the top. Once you have your waist tie ends pressed out, you can stick a pin in it too to hold it there before you get, until you get to the machine, and I will show you what that looks like. So I'm using a pin to mark the center front of my waist tie, and I have folded each end over on itself at a 1/4 inch twice. You can stitch the ends of your waist tie if you want to. And the next step that we're going to do is we're going to look at the apron, and we're going to, from the back end, fold the top over a 1/4 inch. So it's going, and then you press it. So it's going to look like this from the front. So we want this to be a 1/4 inch folded from the back side forward. So once I have that pressed, I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so we have that front edge on the top of the apron. So you can see a 1/4 inch of the back side folded over the front. And let's just go ahead and stitch this part just down straight to itself. You can do that at 1/8 of an inch. You do it from the top side so you see your edge and you make sure you catch it. And if you haven't already stitched the ends of your waist tie down, go ahead and stitch those down. So once you have that top edge stitched down and you have the ends of your waist tie stitched down, you're ready to pin the waistband. So you're ready to pin the waist tie onto the apron itself. So right now you have an apron without a waist tie. So find that center front pin of the twill tape and you want to position that just above the center pocket. So maybe you still can see a press line right there. So just line those two up, and you want to line the twill tape up with the edge that you just stitched. So that flat edge, you just want those two to be flush with each other. So I'm going to pin my waist tie just to the very top of my apron. So you're pinning this from the front. When you have it on, just double check, look at the back and make sure that the folded top edge of the fabric is coming up pretty close, just about flush with the twill tape. So what you'll have is twill tape pinned straight across the top of your apron. And when you look at it from the back, they're both right in the same spot, okay? And basically we have this twill tape. It's like one long rectangle of stitching that we're going to do all the way around it. So we already stitched 1/8 of an inch. We're going to do that again all the way down the side, connecting those two. And then we're going to turn around at the corner, do 1/8 of an inch right here, and then turn around again and 1/8 of an inch all the way down. So we're just stitching perfectly around this piece of twill tape at the waist tie. If you want to start at the end, you can, or if you want to start at the very top edge of the apron. You might need to adjust your tension because we have the most the thickest amount of materials together that we've had all night. I like to back tack at every corner that I do. And when you get to the bottom side, you might need to just kind of roll up your apron a little bit to fit it through the machine. You should have a cute little half apron ready to rock. So I love half aprons. They're simple and sweet. They're great for gardening, being in the kitchen. I don't know if any of you have been eating out, but I haven't. But if you have, you maybe have a favorite waitress who might deserve a new apron and you want to make one for her. This is great for serving, even just like playing too. I know a lot of moms carry an apron around with them, trying to keep all their kids' stuff in pockets that don't exist. So an apron is basically just an extra set of hands and an extra set of pockets for you. Thanks, you guys. So fun to sew along with you.